The air inside the studio felt electric, like the moment before a thunderstorm. Bright lights flooded the stage. Producers whispered countdowns into headsets. The audience leaned forward in restless curiosity. And sitting center frame, facing each other across a sleek glass desk, were two women who had built careers out of being unflinchingly opinionated. Megyn Kelly, poised, articulate, her confidence measured like a courtroom closing argument, and Sunny Hostin, bold, passionate, a lawyer-turned-TV fighter who rarely backed down. It was supposed to be a civil conversation about media ethics. Instead, it became a televised duel that viewers would later call the knockout of morning TV. Before we begin, tell us where you're watching from in the comments, because after this exchange, audiences everywhere, from New York to Nairobi, had an opinion on who truly won. The network's newest late-night panel special promised a fearless debate on truth and accountability. For panelists, two hosts, one live audience. No teleprompter safety nets. Megyn entered in a tailored white suit. Clean lines, no jewelry. Every detail screaming discipline. Sunny followed, all color and movement, her laughter echoing through the studio like a warm but unpredictable spark. The crowd cheered. Cameras panned. And the host announced, "Tonight, we ask, has journalism lost its moral compass?" Megyn smiled faintly. Sunny smirked. Everyone else held their breath. Sunny went first. "Look," she began, gesturing animatedly. "The media's problem is obvious. People like Megyn turn news into theater. They chase outrage for ratings and call it journalism." A few chuckles rippled through the audience. Megyn's expression didn't change. She waited, pen resting between her fingers like a loaded question. Sunny continued, louder this time. "Real journalism stands for the people. It's not about clicks or cable drama. It's about truth. Maybe that's something some folks here forgot." The crowd murmured. One camera zoomed in on Megyn's still face. She finally spoke, calm, even. "That's an interesting accusation coming from someone whose show cuts to commercial every time the truth gets uncomfortable." Gasps. The audience froze, half shocked, half delighted. Sunny blinked, momentarily off balance. The host attempted to interject, but the energy had already shifted. Sunny recovered quickly. "Oh, please," she said, waving her hand. "You left network news when people stopped believing you were neutral." Megyn leaned in slightly. "I left because neutrality doesn't pay when truth is inconvenient. And if you think networks are temples of virtue, you haven't read your own ratings report." Laughter erupted from the crowd. Sunny forced a smile. The moderator whispered into his mic, "We might need a break soon." But no one wanted one. Then came the question that detonated the calm. A producer read it from a card. "Do you believe political talk shows fuel division more than they inform?" Sunny jumped in. "Absolutely. People like Megyn profit from polarization. They make a fortune telling audiences what they want to hear instead of what's right." Megyn paused and answered slowly. "So success automatically means corruption?" Funny, because I could say the same about certain daytime hosts whose outrage is conveniently timed for ad breaks. The audience roared. Sunny's eyes widened. "Are you calling me a hypocrite?" "I'm calling you practiced," Megyn replied smoothly. "There's a difference." The tension snapped like static. People in the front rows were whispering, some clapping, others stunned into silence. Online, the chat feed exploded. Within minutes, clips were circulating. Hashtags like hashtag Megyn versus Sunny and hashtag LiveTVMeltdown were climbing into the trending column. Sunny crossed her arms. "See, this is exactly what's wrong with media ego. You think calm condescension is intelligence." Megyn smiled unbothered. "No, Sunny, I think shouting louder is an argument." The crowd gasped again. Even the sound engineer looked up from his console. In the control room, producers exchanged frantic looks. "Do we cut to a segment?" "Not yet, it's viral magic." Meanwhile, Sunny doubled down. "You talk about integrity, but you built your career defending power. You made excuses for people who should have been questioned harder." Megyn's eyes narrowed slightly. "And you built yours pretending activism is journalism. That's not courage, that's branding." The audience lost it. Applause thundered through the studio. Sunny's co-host shifted uneasily. It was no longer debate. It was verbal chess, and Megyn was 3 moves ahead. Sunny slammed her cue card on the table. You're twisting facts. You always twist facts. Megyn didn't flinch. Facts don't twist, Sunny. People do when they can't handle them. The crowd reacted like a courtroom after a verdict. Gasps, murmurs, spontaneous clapping. Sunny tried to speak again, voice rising. You think you're the moral authority? Megyn replied softly, every syllable measured. No, I just remember when journalists ask questions instead of auditioning for applause. Silence. Not a sound in the room. Sunny glanced toward the moderator. I don't have to sit here and be insulted. Megyn folded her hands. Then stand. But understand this. Walking out doesn't win the argument. It only confirms you lost it. The audience erupted again. Some shouted, OHHH, like a sports crowd after a dunk. Others covered their mouths, half shocked by the composure with which Megyn delivered the blow. Sunny froze mid-gesture. For the first time, her expression faltered. She sat back down. The moderator finally cut in. Ladies, let's bring this back to civil discussion. But Megyn wasn't done. She turned to the camera, voice calm, tone surgical. We can't keep calling disagreement hate. Debate isn't violence. If confidence scares you, maybe it's not arrogance, it's accuracy. The audience exploded into applause. Even the crew couldn't hide their reactions. Sunny looked away, eyes fixed on her notes, visibly stunned. The segment timer flashed red, 30 seconds left. Megyn leaned back, collected, untouchable. Sunny's silence said everything. As the host announced a break, the camera caught one last glance. Sunny staring at the desk, Megyn smiling faintly like a fencer who'd already sheathed her sword. The studio lights dimmed. The internet caught fire. By the time they cut to commercials, half the country was already tweeting about the calmest knockout in talk show history. But what happened after the cameras stopped rolling? The private confrontation backstage, the network meltdown, and the public fallout would push this story from viral drama to national reckoning. The instant the red on air light flicked off, the room broke apart like a detonated flashbulb. Producers sprinted across the floor, headsets crackling, whispering orders. Don't let anyone leave yet. We're getting calls already. Sunny Hostin stood up first. Her hands trembled just enough to betray the anger beneath the poise. Megyn Kelly remained seated, unhurried, sipping water as if the past 10 minutes hadn't set the internet ablaze. Sunny leaned over the table. You're lucky this isn't your old network, Megyn. They'd never air that kind of disrespect. Megyn looked up, voice flat and steady. They'd air it, Sunny, because the truth sells better than tantrums. A stagehand froze mid-step. The line was so quiet it barely carried, and yet it carried everywhere. Someone backstage had kept their phone camera rolling. By the time both women reached their dressing rooms, that 30-second backstage clip, Sunny's flare, Megyn's cold reply, was already on X, Instagram, and TikTok. The caption read, Megyn Kelly still debating off camera. Within an hour, the view count passed 10 million. Hashtag Megyn vs. Sunny trended in 27 countries. Fans spliced the exchange with boxing sound effects, countdown timers, even courtroom memes. The comments split like fault lines. That wasn't arrogance. That was composure forged in fire. Sunny got out-lawyered by silence. When calm becomes combat, this is what it looks like. Inside the network tower, executives scrambled. Half wanted to apologize to keep daytime allies happy. Half wanted to double down and ride the viral wave. One VP muttered, "We haven't had this many eyes since election night." Another replied, "Yes, but if we mishandle it, we'll have no advertisers by morning." Public relations teams drafted 3 statements and deleted them all. No one could decide whether to defend, deny, or distance. Meanwhile, Megyn Kelly's team posted nothing. Not a word. Just silence, and that silence won. Late that night, Sunny finally spoke during an Instagram Live. You saw how she talked to me. That's not professionalism. That's privilege with lipstick. Her followers flooded the comments with support, but the wider internet smelled emotion, not authority. clipped side by side against Megyn's serene expression. Sunny's live stream looked like a sequel that arrived too soon. Entertainment blogs titled it The Apology That Wasn't. PR analysts called it a textbook case of reacting instead of responding. The next morning, Megyn opened her own podcast, not with anger, but with analysis. Voice low, calm as a chess player describing an old match. We're told composure is cold. It isn't. It's clarity. If you lose yours, someone else writes your story for you. No names mentioned. No insults. Just philosophy. The clip hit 5 million views in 24 hours. Commenters called it a masterclass in verbal aikido. Business magazines wrote pieces on how Megyn Kelly turned criticism into currency. Brands noticed. Endorsement offers doubled. The phrase, the Kelly Calm, started trending on LinkedIn. Cable panels erupted across every network. A CNN anchor asterisk, was Megyn calm or calculating? A Fox analyst asterisk, she didn't raise her voice once. That's power. A podcaster asterisk, she weaponized professionalism. Clips replayed in slow motion. The tilt of Megyn's head, the micro pause before each counter. Body language experts broke it down frame by frame. On YouTube, reaction channels labeled it Hostin versus Kelly, round 2. The comments weren't gentle. Sunny talks about feelings. Megyn talks about facts. That's why one went viral, and the other went live again to explain. Sunny returned to the studio 2 days later. Producers greeted her with cautious smiles. The vibe had shifted. Respect had become delicate currency. During rehearsal, she overheard 2 junior staffers whispering, "Just don't pull another Kelly." She snapped. What's that supposed to mean? They froze. The term had already entered newsroom slang. Pulling a Kelly now meant keeping composure while someone else unravels. Advertisers sided quietly with the winner of public sentiment. By week's end, Megyn Kelly's YouTube subscriptions tripled. Sunny's daytime ratings dipped 8%. At an executive breakfast, one sponsor put it bluntly, viewers trust the one who looks like they're in control. And Megyn Kelly looked untouchable. 3 nights later, a private call connected the 2 women. The line crackled with distance and unspoken regret. Sunny's tone was softer than anyone had ever heard on air. Megyn, I didn't mean for it to spiral. You know how producers push heat. Megyn paused and answered with the same calm that had conquered headlines. I know, but the trick isn't avoiding pressure. It's refusing to boil. A long silence. Then Sunny whispered, "You won that night." Megyn replied, "No one wins when the conversation dies. Let's fix that part." A week later, a stunning announcement hit press wires. Megyn Kelly to guest host A View for one day only, alongside Sunny Hostin. The internet detonated. Was it reconciliation? A rematch? Or a trap? Commenters flooded threads with bets, memes, theories. Hashtags rose again. Hashtag Kelly returns, hashtag round 3, hashtag respect or revenge. TV executives called it the Super Bowl of talk shows. The stage was set for the most watched daytime broadcast of the year. But what happened on that reunion stage? The handshake, the words that weren't supposed to air, and the reaction that broke daytime TV records would redefine both women's legacies forever. Thursday morning, the studio corridors of The View pulsed like a nerve. Producers whispered, camera crews double-checked every lens, and security lined the stage wings. For the first time in the show's history, the guest host was someone who had once verbally dismantled one of its own. Backstage, Sunny Hostin pacing heels that clicked like a metronome of nerves. Across the hall, Megyn Kelly sat motionless, headphones on, eyes closed, breathing slow. A stage assistant murmured, "1 minute, ladies." The red light above the doors blinked. The network rolled its new graphic. When voices collide, music swelled, applause thundered, and Sunny stepped onto the stage first. She smiled wide, though her hand betrayed a tremor. Then came Megyn Kelly, calm, crisp, radiating quiet confidence. She waved once, sat down, and crossed her legs like she owned the air itself. The host at center tried a nervous joke. Let's prove America wrong and show that 2 strong women can share a table without breaking it. The crowd laughed. half relieved, half anxious. Sunny leaned forward first. Megyn, welcome back. I see you brought your calm armor again. Megyn smiled. And I see you're still brave enough to test it. The crowd hooped. It had begun. The discussion topic was media accountability. Sunny struck first. You talk about composure, but some say it's just another form of control, shutting people down with tone instead of truth. Megyn responded evenly. Control is only a problem when you lose it. Calm doesn't silence truth. It gives it room to stand. Applause rippled through the studio. Sunny smiled thinly. Well, maybe you just sound calm because you've had the privilege of being heard more than others. Megyn didn't blink. Or maybe calm earned me the microphone. The audience roared. Halfway through the segment, the moderator tossed a curveball question. What's one thing you admire about the other? The studio went silent. Sunny hesitated, then exhaled. I'll admit it, she doesn't flinch. I respect that. Even when she's wrong, she's fearless. A few cheers. Megyn looked across the table. And I'll admit, she feels deeply. Sometimes that's dangerous on camera, but it's real, and real matters. The crowd stood up. For a moment, the rivalry melted into recognition. During the next segment break, cameras were supposed to cut away, but one stayed rolling for behind-the-scenes feed. Sunny turned toward Megyn quietly. You didn't have to come back. Why did you? Megyn shrugged. Because unfinished lessons always repeat themselves. Sunny smiled faintly. I think I just graduated. The clip leaked within hours and instantly became the top share moment of the broadcast, not the argument, but the grace. Viewers watching at home flooded social media.